Welcome back into our Fox Carolina studios. I'm Palmetto Sports Director Carmine Jamay, and what a press conference we just witnessed from the legendary head coach Dabo Swinney, going through his legendary accomplishments for about a 10-minute stretch there. All the highs and the lows, saying this right here with the team at a 1-2 record is a low point, but he's been through several others before, and saying one bite that really stood out to me when he said, if they're tired of winning, I can go elsewhere. And I want to get that exactly right. If they're tired of winning, they can send me on their way. So coach talking about, not that he's looking elsewhere or thinking that he will be sent elsewhere or parting ways with Clemson. Nothing like that by any means, but just what a strong statement from head coach Dabo Swinney as we pull up some of this video here of the coach and press conference here. Coach saying he's got a long memory. In case people don't remember, he's 55 years old. He said, but he will go somewhere else, and coach is what he said if it comes to that, which again, I just want to strongly reemphasize, that is not what we're hearing, anything about that. Coach Swinney just coming out and saying that on his own, but a very strong statement, motivated, going through his 18th season now as head coach, 17th full season, including a stretch of losing 5 games in a row to South Carolina. He said that was a tough time in his stretch, and then the best 5 to 6 year run in college football history, making the college football playoffs 6 years in a row. That run, of course, including 2 national championships. And he said they've built the program at Clemson because of how they fight and respond to difficult times, once again, like this one that they're in currently. He said this team of this year, future yet to be determined. And he said, what's so bad about this program? And mentioning if, 10 wins every single year is difficult, then I guess we stink, and kind of sarcastic there, and said when you have a lot of success, that's what happens. These expectations rise, but he said his identity is not on the scoreboard. His identity is in a foundation of Christ and his Christianity. So we're going to send it back out to our Palmetto Sports reporters Ella Grogan and Caroline Soro, who were live in that press conference room, have just stepped out to speak with us here. Instant reaction from 2 of our stars here. And guys, what a press conference that we just heard from Dabo Swinney.
Carmine, it is so funny. I actually wrote down the exact same thing that you just said. If they're tired of winning, they can send me on my way.
Too.
I mean, that was unbelievable. And last Saturday after the game against Georgia Tech, he even said, the wind is in our face and we are going uphill, but don't count us out. And that was the same message that we heard today. And he went on this trip down memory lane.
It was a trip.
It was a trip. I mean, it was his entire career here at Clemson. What was your takeaways from that trip that we went on?
Yeah, I think my main takeaway was the fact that Coach Swinney backtracked all the way to 2010, right? And he said in the 17 years that he's been coaching here at Clemson, they've had 1 bad season, and that was back in 2010. And if you characterize bad by having 6 wins, then, I guess, of course, that's Clemson's standard. But that was the thing he kept coming back to, is even if the sky feels like it's falling, even if things feel like they're quote-unquote bad, and he kept labeling it as saying, it is bad. It does feel bad right now. He's hearing the noise, he's hearing the chatter, but he said that every single time that Clemson has wound up in a quote-unquote bad spot, they responded. And he went on to say that that's what this program here at Clemson is built upon, whether there's 2 losses, 0 losses, whatever number of losses there may be, that they always respond. The same deal was when they had 4 losses, same deal as when they have 3, that thing just goes on and on and on. The Tigers just keep on responding. That was kind of his message, right? You talked about climbing uphill. He's aware of the situation, but he also just gave us a very realistic perspective of kind of where things stand, what he thinks. And I'm just curious, while we were listening to him unpack, that long trip down memory lane, what did you feel like the feeling in the room was? It felt kind of heavy, like serious, didn't it?
It did, absolutely. Yeah. It's so funny. I was like, I feel like I'm having my Remember the Titans moment in there. I mean, the motivational speech was going, and as media, we felt that energy, but I can't help but think what those players felt after that loss, and how do you turn around now and take on a really good Syracuse team? So hearing that motivation and his reasoning and his determination, we heard a lot about the disappointment, but one word that kept coming up was optimism. It's not over for them. So what What do you think heading into this Syracuse game, their perspective is going to be? He said at the end, I don't think you were in there, but he's like, those lockers are clean. They're ready to go. They're doing all the things right now.
Well, I could imagine, based on what Coach Swinney was saying, that this is a team that probably feels pretty energized. They're trained to be able to tune out that noise. That's probably something, whether they're winning however many games or losing however many games, that they're accustomed to having to do. It's just, hey, let's focus on the task at hand. Let's listen to what our coach is telling us. And the thing that I'll go back to that Coach said as well was the grit and the effort. All of that is there. That's the stuff that if you're a coach, you can't teach that, right? I'm not a coach, so, maybe I wouldn't know. But those are the things that you can't really teach, is the fact that, the want to is there. It's just a matter of putting it together. And I think the fact that Saturday's game is at home against Syracuse, though Syracuse is going to be a tough opponent, matches up really well with Clemson. I think that the fact that that game is at home is a great chance to hit the reset button. Let's do that in front of our fans. Let's use this as a chance to move forward. And as Coach Dabo said, get our season back on track, right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And speaking of being back at home, I actually asked Dabo Swinney today a question that we are planning for this week about the Meet at the Paw tradition. So we've seen a lot of special moments that he has now had because that tradition is delayed. He's been with TJ Parker, Cade Klubnik, kind of giving them those extra boost and motivational words after the game. And then the fans come on for the alma mater. But you also asked Dabo a really exciting story that you are working on this week. What was that one?
I did. Thanks for asking, Ella. I was talking to Coach about the ACC Command Center being able to broadcast some of their calls during the games and actually let fans in on those conversations. For those of you who were tuned into the broadcast, Clemson at Georgia Tech this past Saturday, you probably caught that little moment late in the game where you can actually hear what the officials were saying. They were going through one of the touchdown calls, reviewing it. It was called a touchdown, ended up being ruled an incomplete pass because of that review. And those of us sitting on the couch being able to watch were actually able to kind of process, the human side of this. So I asked Coach about that a little bit as well. He touched on the transparency of it all and the value that provides for fans to be able to get that game day experience. So we'll have a story coming up on that as well.
Absolutely, Caroline. I am so excited about that. So you guys can see those stories coming up. And then also, these press conferences are not over today. We have players. We have Tom Allen coming in here later today, and we will be bringing you that on air and online. For Caroline Soro, I'm Ella Grogan, Palmetto Sports.